CQ calling all radio amateurs and listeners. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain. This broadcast comes to you from amateur radio station Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire, transmitting on 3650 kHz AM. Welcome and thank you for joining us. It's Sunday the 19th of May and here is the GB2RS news broadcast, which was prepared for you by the RSGB and it's available to all radio amateurs and listeners. You can also find this bulletin on the RSGB website at rsgb.org, along with links to groups and organisations that may be mentioned in this broadcast. This week's news headlines. We have an update on the RSGB board liaison roles, plus news on the imminent closure of the Signals Museum at RAF Henlow, and the 6-metre UK Group Summer Marathon is well underway. Each RSGB board director has a liaison role between the board and specific aspects of the Society's work done by RSGB volunteers in committees, groups and teams, as well as by the honorary officers. And the board has just agreed the liaison roles for the coming year. And you can find out more with contact details for each board director at rsgb.org/board. The Signals Museum at RAF Henlow will soon be closing its doors for the last time, with its final opening day set for the 8th of June, after which it will start to dispose of its exhibits. The museum tells the story of RAF signals, and among its many attractions are working items such as transmitters, receivers and radar consoles, which can all be demonstrated. And to find out how you can visit the museum before it closes, with lots of information about its interesting history, you can visit their website, which is signalsmuseum, that's all one word, .uk. The UK 6-metre Group Summer Marathon is well underway. Amateur radio operators worldwide are taking part, and you don't need to be a member of the group. The aim of the marathon is to work as many 4-digit grid squares as you can on the 6-metre band between the 4th of May and the 4th of August. You can send in your logs up until the 18th of August 2024, and you can find out more at the group's website, which is uksmg.org. That's Uniform Kilo Sierra Mike Golf.org. Now, if you're a keen contester, or if you'd like to start contesting, the latest monthly Radcom contesting column is now available for you to read on the RSGB website, and it's published following each new edition of Radcom magazine. It's a really useful resource and it shares many key aspects about contesting, including Tip of the Month, a featured UK contester, as well as Contests of the Month. And this month, Nick, Golf 4 Foxtrot Alpha Lima, who's the HF Contest Committee Chairman, looks at the history of contesting. And you can find out more and read this month's column at rsgb.org/radcom-contesting. Now a reminder that International Museums Weekend will take place in June on the 15th and 16th of June, as well as the 22nd and 23rd of June. Special event stations will operate from museums in many different countries, and you can read more about the event, and you can also register to take part on the event's website, which is tinyurl.com/IMW2024. That's India Mike Whiskey 2024. Now we have a reminder that many stations are on the air throughout May, celebrating SOS Radio Week. This annual event celebrates the work of volunteers from the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, independent lifeboats and National Coastwatch stations around the British Isles. A commemorative certificate is available to all official stations that record their contacts on the website, together with awards for the top individual and top club or group stations on each band from 160 metres to 70 centimetres. You can read more about the event at the event website, which is SOS Radio Week, that's all one word, .org.uk. And now we have details of rallies and events. The Braehead Rally takes place from 10 a.m. today, the 19th of May. It's being held at the Braehead Arena with free on-site parking, bring and buy and refreshments. And if you need more information, you can contact Paul via email. His email address is mikemike3delta Quebec@gmail.com. And also today it's the Dartmoor Radio Club Rally, and it's just getting ready to open its doors at 10 a.m. That's being held at the Yelverton War Memorial Hall. That's on postcode Papa Lima 206 Alpha Lima. If you need more information, contact Roger Han. You can either phone him on 07854 088 882, or you can email him at 2ECHO0 Romeo Papa Hotel @gmail.com. Durham and District Amateur Radio Society rally is on next week, Sunday the 26th of May. That's being held at the Boburn Community Centre in Boburn, County Durham, and the postcode for your sat-nav is Delta Hotel 65 Alpha Tango. The doors will open from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and disabled visitors get early entry at 10 a.m. Entrance is £2, and there'll be a bring and buy sale, trade stands, special interest groups and an RSGB bookstall, with catering and a licensed bar also on site. For more information, you can contact Michael, Golf 7 Tango Whiskey X-Ray. His phone number is 07826 924 192, or you can email him at Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra @golfmikexray.com. And now a reminder that the Dunstable Downs Radio Club annual boot sale has been postponed until the 30th of June, and this is because the site is now going to be used by BBC Radio 1's Big Weekend Music Festival. You can find updates on the Dunstable Downs Radio Club's Facebook page, and you can also register to get reminder emails closer to the time. To do that, add yourself to the email list at the club's website, which is Delta Romeo Charlie Bravo Oscar Oscar Tango Sierra Alpha Lima Echo.org. That's ddrcbootsale.org. And we now have the special event news for you. Today, the 19th, the RAF Waddington Amateur Radio Club are back at the International Bomber Command Centre for the Inspire Ride 2024 event, which pays tribute to the men of Stalag Luft 3 who took part in the Great Escape in March 1944. Operators will be active on the HF bands using SSB and some Morse code, and also FM on the 2-meter band. The station will be active from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with special event call sign Golf Bravo 5 Echo Sierra Charlie. Northwest Group Amateur Radio Club, call sign Mike November 0 November Whiskey Golf, is running special event call sign Golf Bravo 0 Alpha Echo Lima until the 31st of May, and that's to commemorate the anniversary of Amelia Earhart's transatlantic flight. On the 20th and 21st of May 1932, Earhart became the first woman to fly non-stop and alone across the Atlantic Ocean. And the station has been heard on the HF bands using Morse code, FT8 and SSB. And if you're lucky enough to contact them, you can QSL via Mike India 0 Hotel Oscar Zulu directly, or via the Bureau. The United Nations Global Service Centre Amateur Radio Club, call sign 4 Uniform 1 Golf Sierra Charlie, which is located in Brindisi, is active as 4 Uniform 29 Mike Alpha Yankee. They'll be active until the 31st of May. The special call sign is active to promote the International Day of United Nations Peacekeepers on the 29th of May. The station has been worked recently on the 20 and 15 meter bands using Morse code, and you can QSL via 9 Alpha 2 Alpha Alpha. And now your DX news for the week ahead. Chris Whiskey Alpha 7 Romeo Alpha Romeo is active as 8 Papa 9 Charlie Bravo. He's operating from Barbados, which is IOTA reference November Alpha 021, and he'll be active until the 26th of May. He's operating portable at various locations throughout the island, especially parks on the air sites. He's active on the 20 to 10 meter bands using Morse code and SSB, and you can QSL via Logbook of the World or directly to Whiskey Alpha 7 Romeo Alpha Romeo. Roland, Foxtrot 8 Echo November, is active again as Tango Romeo 8 Charlie Romeo. He's operating from Gabon until at least the end of June. He'll operate Morse code only, and he'll celebrate his 96th birthday while there. You can QSL via Foxtrot 6 Alpha Juliet Alpha or directly via the Bureau. And you can usually find Roland on the 30 to 10 meter bands using Morse code. Now let's look at the contest news. The 144 MHz May contest started at 1400 UTC on Saturday the 18th, and it ends at 1400 UTC today the 19th of May. Using all modes on the 2 meter band, the exchange's signal report, serial number and locator, and UK stations will also send their postcode. Also today it's the first 144 MHz Backpackers contest, which runs from 1100 to 1500 UTC. Using all modes on the 2 meter band, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator, and UK stations again will send their postcode. And tomorrow, the 20th, it's the FT4 series contest that runs from 1900 to 2030 UTC. Using FT4 on the 80 to 10 meter bands where contests are allowed, the exchange is your report. On Tuesday the 21st, it's the 1.3 GHz UK activity contest, which runs from 1900 to 2130 UTC. Using all modes on the 1.3 GHz band, the exchange's signal report, serial number and locator. On Wednesday the 22nd, it's the 80 meter Club Championship, and that runs from 1900 to 2030 UTC. This event uses data modes on the 80 meter band, and the exchange's signal report and serial number. The CQ Worldwide WPX Morse Code Contest starts at 0000 UTC on Saturday the 25th and ends at 23:59 UTC on Sunday the 26th of May. Using Morse code on the 160 to 10 meter bands where contests are allowed, the exchange is signal report and serial number. On Sunday the 26th, it's the UK Microwave Group High Band Contest, which runs from 0600 to 1800 UTC. Using all modes on the 5.7 and 10 GHz bands, the exchange's signal report, serial number and locator. And now we have the radio propagation report, which was compiled by Golf 0 Kilo Yankee Alpha, Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar on Thursday the 16th of May. After last week's spectacular auroral events, it was nice to see the sun calm down a little and the band started to return to normal. But that did not last long. A reminder that on Friday, the 10th of May, the KP index shot up to 9, and that's thanks to a number of coronal mass ejections, while the HF bands closed down in the following geomagnetic storm. While there were visible aurora across the UK and Europe, HF propagation really suffered and didn't start to recover until the late afternoon on Saturday the 11th. The main culprit for this was active region 3664, which has now rotated out of view, but that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet. Solar flares can cause short-term disruption to HF propagation due to their X-rays penetrating deep into the D region and causing signals to be absorbed. The following coronal mass ejections can cause longer-term degradation of the F2 layer, with reduced maximum usable frequencies, noisy bands and auroral conditions. At the time of writing, the KP index stood at 6 again, so it looks like unsettled geomagnetic conditions are continuing, with a moderate G2 magnetic storm in progress. We expect low to moderate activity now, with a slight chance of further strong-class flares. The regions on the visible disk now are smaller and simpler, with isolated M flares possible from these, but a new active region now rotating into view has already emitted an X-class solar flare. Next week, the United States Air Force predicts that the solar flux index may be in the range of 160 to 180. HF conditions remain uncertain, as they can be badly affected by solar flares and coronal mass ejections. And our best advice is to keep an eye on solarham.com for updates, and also follow propquest.co.uk for near real-time reports of the critical and maximum usable frequencies. Next we have the VHF and UP propagation news. This was compiled by Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar. The weather remains unsettled, with areas of rain and some thunderstorms over the country, especially the south, as we end the week. High pressure is establishing itself over northern and western Britain, and this may affect the rest of the country during the second half of the coming week and into next weekend, the 25th and 26th. The high pressure, although fairly weak, may help with some tropo for those in northern Britain in the 144 MHz May contest and the Backpackers contest this weekend. It may also help operators in the 1.3 GHz UK activity contest on the 21st. However, the conditions may not be of much use in the south, as another low arrives from the continent. Rain scatter on the gigahertz bands will probably be worth exploring again in the rainy areas, as some showers may be heavy and thundery. Prospects for aurora are still worth keeping in mind. Minor non-visible events can still provide reasonable radio aurora for you to explore. The sporadic E-season continues to develop, and with the unsettled weather, there are many jet streams producing turbulence, which can affect the E region and generate sporadic E. And we're now at the tail end of the Eta Aquarids meteor shower. A few meteors from the shower will continue to appear, but no major shower is expected this coming week. The lowest moon declination occurs this coming Friday. With full moon on the 23rd, a clear sky should reveal an impressive flower moon. For EME or moon bounce, path loss will still be quite high, although the moon is starting to move back towards its closest point to Earth, otherwise known as perigee. 144 MHz sky noise starts the week low, but it will rise to a high on Saturday the 25th. And that's all from the propagation team this week. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain, being brought to you by amateur radio station Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppishall, Bedfordshire. And now it's over to the local news, and please note that details of all RSGB affiliated clubs and societies can be found on the RSGB website, and that includes the email addresses and website links when we know them. We'll start off with news for the Midlands. The Bolsover Amateur Radio Society meet on the first and third Tuesdays of the month, starting at 8 p.m. at the Bainbridge Hall in Bolsover, and the postcode is Sierra 446 Papa X-ray, and the next meeting is on Tuesday the 21st. Bromsgrove and District Amateur Radio Club meet every Friday from 8 p.m. Members also have a regular coffee morning on Wednesdays in the Club Shack from 10:30 a.m. Then on Monday and Wednesday evenings there are nets on 145.375 MHz from 7:30 p.m. Burton Amateur Radio Club has open nets around 145.575 MHz at 10 a.m. on Sundays and 8 p.m. on Thursdays. On Monday, there'll be slow Morse code exercises on 14.055 MHz from 11 a.m. and the club meets every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Central Amateur Circle, or Central Radio Amateur Circle I should say, has a net on 145.575 MHz from 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday and from 12 p.m. on Saturday, and the group will have a Google meeting at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Cheltenham Amateur Radio Association has daily nets on 145.400 MHz at 8:10 a.m. On Tuesday they have slow Morse code practice on 3540 kHz and up. That starts at 8 p.m. Wednesday's net is via the Golf Bravo 3 Golf Charlie repeater from 8 p.m. and on Friday there'll be a net on 144.350 MHz from 8 p.m. And for more information on the club's activities, visit their website, which is golf5bravokilo.uk. Dudley and District Amateur Radio Society meets every Tuesday from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Wrighton Mill. That's on 59 Vale Street, Upper Gornal in Dudley, and the postcode is Delta Yankee 3 X-Ray Foxtrot. Gloucester Amateur Radio and Electronic Society has an informal net every day on 145.475 MHz FM. That's at 3:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday, the net is from 7:30 p.m. on 145.475 MHz FM. Thursday's net is on from 7:30 p.m. on 145.475, moving to 80 meters SSB later on. Then on Friday, the net is on 432.220 MHz SSB from 7:30 p.m. Kettering and District Amateur Radio Society has a breakfast meeting from 10 a.m. on Sundays, and on Tuesday there's a club meeting from 7 p.m. Then on Thursday they have a net on 145.300 MHz at 7 p.m. On Monday, Leicester Radio Society will meet at its headquarters and via Zoom from 7:30 p.m. and on Thursday there'll be a club meeting from 10 a.m. Lincoln Shortwave Club will meet at the BSA Village Hall from 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday and from 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. On Thursday they'll have a net via Golf Bravo 3 Lima Sierra, or if that's busy they'll meet on 145.350 MHz. And for more information on the club you can visit their website, which is golf5foxtrotzulu.co.uk. On Tuesday, Loughborough and District Amateur Radio Club will listen to a talk by Andrew, Golf 7 Sierra Echo Golf, entitled The Valve Collection. On Wednesday, Malvern Hills Radio Amateurs Club has a net on 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. On Wednesday, Midland Amateur Radio Society will hold a general meeting and will run training classes. On Thursday, members of Northampton Radio Club will operate outdoors at the Grangewood Club, and for more information visit their website, which is Northampton Radio Club, all one word, .co.uk. On Monday, Nunsfield House Amateur Radio Group will have a shack night and club net on 145.300 MHz from 8 p.m. On Monday, RAF Waddington Amateur Radio Club has a net on 145.325 MHz from 7:30 p.m. There's also Morse code practice at 8 p.m. on 144.085 MHz on Wednesday. Then on Friday, the club will meet at the Pie Wipe starting at 8 p.m. Rugby Amateur Transmitting Society has weekday nets at 8:30 a.m. on 144.275 MHz USB. Training and practice Morse code nets take place on Monday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on 144.275 MHz. They start off using upper sideband and then move across to Morse code. The Society will meet from 8 p.m. on Tuesday and from 2 p.m. on Saturday at the Borton Lee 12th Rugby Scouts Hut. Then on Friday there's a net from 8 p.m. on 1913 kHz. Members of Salop Amateur Radio Society will meet for a club night on Thursday, and for more information on the club visit their website, which is Salop Radio Society, all one word, .org. On Thursdays, Solihull Amateur Radio Society has a net around 145.450 MHz, and that's from 8 p.m. South Birmingham Radio Society has open club nights on Fridays from 7:30 p.m. and visitors are welcome to attend the Society's Tuesday coffee morning, which starts at 10:30 a.m. On Tuesday, South Derbyshire and Ashby Wolds Amateur Radio Group has an open net on 144.225 MHz. That starts at 7 p.m. and members have a club evening from 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and on Friday they have a net on 70.425 MHz from 7 p.m. On Monday, members of South Normanton, Alfreton and District Amateur Radio Club will have a junk sale, and on Tuesday the club has its net around 145.450 MHz from 7 p.m. On Sundays, Stafford and District's Amateur Radio Society has a net on 145.375 MHz. That starts at 8 p.m. And on Wednesdays, members meet at the Wildwood Community Centre from 8 p.m. Stourbridge and District Amateur Radio Society meets at Norton Snooker Club from 8 p.m. on Mondays. Also on Monday, Stratford-upon-Avon and District Radio Society has a net on 145.275 MHz FM from 8 p.m. On Monday, Sutton Coldfield Amateur Radio Society has a net around 145.250 MHz. That's from 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday, Telford and District Amateur Radio Society will meet to discuss the erection and safety of mobile towers. On Monday, Welland Valley Amateur Radio Society will meet at Great Bowden Village Hall from 7 p.m. Wolverhampton Radio Society meets every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. at the Wednesfield and Woodend British Legion. On Sundays, they have a net around 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. And for more information, you can visit their website, which is wolverhamptonars, all one word, .co.uk, or at wolvesars on social media. On Tuesday, Withell Radio Club will meet at Withell House from 7:30 p.m. And next we have news for the South East and East Anglia. On Monday, Bishop Stortford Amateur Radio Society will meet at Farnham Village Hall from 8 p.m. and visitors and new members are always welcome to attend. On Wednesday, there's a net from 8 p.m. on 145.5625 MHz, and again, everyone's welcome to join in. Bracknell Amateur Radio Club has a net via the Golf Bravo 3 Bravo November repeater from 5 p.m. on Sundays, and Wednesday sees a net on 145.375 MHz FM, and that's from 8 p.m. On Tuesday, Braintree and District Amateur Radio Society will hold its net on 145.375 MHz FM from 8 p.m, and all amateurs are welcome to join in. On Tuesday, Bromley and District Amateur Radio Society will meet for a tabletop sale and a QRP night, and that starts at 7:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday, the Society has a net which starts on 145.500 MHz from 9 p.m. And for more information on the club, you can visit their website, which is Bravo Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.wordpress.com. Burnham Beeches Radio Club has its net from 10:30 a.m. on Sundays, which starts on 145.500 MHz and then moves to 145.275 MHz. Bury St Edmunds Amateur Radio Society meets at Rougham Tower Museum on the third Wednesday of each month. It's a small but very active club, and there are club nets every day of the week except Sunday. You can find details of the club's website, or on the club's website, which is Bravo Sierra Echo Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk, and the club's general chat frequencies are 144.7375 MHz FM and 433.400 MHz FM. On Sundays, Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society has a Morse code net on 144.060 MHz. That's from 8 p.m. And on Monday, there'll be a Morse code class from 7:30 p.m. around 3542 kHz, which is followed at 8:15 p.m. by Golf Bravo 2 Charlie Whiskey Slow Morse on 3555 kHz. On Tuesday, there'll be an open net via the Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha repeater from 8 p.m. And finally on Thursday, there'll be a Morse code class via Skype, and that's from 7 p.m. On Tuesday, Chippenham and District Amateur Radio Club will meet from 8 p.m. and members will discuss HF operating with Mike Zero Papa Lima Sierra from 8 p.m. And for more information, you can visit the club's website, which is Chippenham Radio, all one word, .club. On Monday, Colchester Radio Amateurs Club has an open net on 433.4 MHz from 7 p.m. and on 1.920 MHz lower sideband from 8 p.m. Wednesday's open net is around 145.350 MHz from 7 p.m. and on Thursday there'll be an open net on 3.685 MHz from 7 p.m. Then on Friday there'll be an open DX net which is on 14.125 MHz with assistance on 145.350 MHz from 2:30 p.m. On Sundays, Coulsdon Amateur Transmitting Society has nets on 145.4 MHz from 11 a.m. and on 3.7 MHz from 5 p.m. Then on Wednesday there'll be a net around 70.425 MHz from 9 p.m. Crawley Amateur Radio Club will meet from 11 a.m. on Sunday, 8 p.m. on Wednesday and 2 p.m. on Friday. Cray Valley Radio Society hold their 2-metre and 4-metre FM nets on 145.350 MHz on Sundays at 10 a.m. and on 70.425 MHz on Fridays at 8 p.m. They also hold a top band SSB net which later moves to AM on the first Monday of each month around 1.905 MHz starting at 8 p.m. and everyone's welcome to join in. On Wednesdays, Crystal Palace Radio and Electronics Club has a net on 145.525 MHz, that's from 8 p.m. and on Saturdays the club has a net on 51.550 MHz FM, that's from 8 p.m. On Sundays, Darenth Valley Radio Society has a net on 145.475 MHz at 8 a.m. Dorking and District Radio Society has a net each day, that's from Monday to Saturday, on 144.775 MHz FM at 10 a.m. On Thursday, Edgware and District Radio Society will gather to discuss sporadic E-propagation on the 6-metre band. Essex Ham has a net on Monday via Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha from 8 p.m. with chat room and audio feed at essexham.net. On Wednesday, members of Fareham and District Amateur Radio Club will take part in the RSGB 80-metre data contest. And for more information, visit the club's website, which is fareham-delta-alpha-romeo-charlie.co.uk. On Sundays, Felixstowe and District Amateur Radio Society has a net on 145.400 MHz from 10 a.m. On Monday, members meet at Broadway House from 7:30 p.m. and on Wednesday they have a net via the Golf Bravo 3 India Hotel repeater from 7:30 p.m. Today, the 19th, members of Fort Purbrook Amateur Radio Club meet at the top of the fort, and that's for contest operating. Then on Thursday, there'll be an open net starting on 145.275 MHz at 7:30 p.m. before moving to the Golf Bravo 3 Sierra Hotel repeater at 8 p.m. On Tuesday, the Harlow and District Amateur Radio Society will have a technical evening, and on Wednesday there'll be a net on 145.425 MHz from 7:30 p.m. and on Friday the Society will meet from 8 p.m. and visitors are welcome to attend. Hastings Electronics and Radio Club hold a daily net on the Golf Bravo 3 Echo Sierra repeater at 10 a.m. They have a Morse code net on Monday nights at 8 p.m. on 144.575 MHz, and the Morse net is aimed at anyone new to Morse code or who wishes to brush up their Morse code skills, and non-members are also most welcome to join in. The net is followed by general conversation. Then on Wednesdays, usually at 1 p.m, members meet up at various locations in the area for an afternoon of portable radio on the air on both HF and VHF using SSB, Morse code and FM. And again, non-members are welcome to take part. The details vary each week, so please visit hastings-electronics-radio-club.com. Visit that on Wednesday morning to view an up-to-date information about the location and time of the next meeting. Hildestone Radio Society will meet on Thursday, and for more information visit their website, which is Golf Zero Hotel Romeo Sierra.org. Hog's Back Amateur Radio Club usually meets on the 2nd and 4th Mondays of the month at Crondall Scout Centre. That's on Pankridge Street in Crondall. On Sundays, Horndean and District Amateur Radio Club has a Morse code net at 9 a.m. That's around 1950 kHz, and then moving to SSB at 9:30 a.m. And there's also an 8 p.m. net on 433.450 MHz, and on Monday there'll be a net around 1950 kHz from 7:30 p.m. The net then moves to 145.375 MHz on Wednesday, where it starts at 7:30 p.m. On Sundays, the Isle of Wight Radio Society has a net via Golf Bravo 7 Papa Oscar and Golf Bravo 7 Mike Tango from 8 p.m. The Society also has a net on Monday to Friday via Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey from 6:15 a.m. On Tuesday, the Society takes part in the Bramble net via Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey from 7:30 p.m. And on Thursday, there's another net via Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey, followed by a Zoom meeting from 8 p.m. Then on Fridays, members meet at Haylands Farm in Ryde, and Foundation and Intermediate Licence training is available at those meetings. Today, the 19th, Itchen Valley Amateur Radio Club will run a special event station from Culshot Lifeboat. Then on Friday, members will undertake brickworks activities. And for more information, visit their website, which is India Victor Alpha Romeo Charlie.org.uk. Loughton and Epping Forest Amateur Radio Society has a net on Wednesday from 8 p.m. That's on Brandmeister DMR Talk Group 23511. Thursday sees a net from 8 p.m. on 144.725 MHz FM, and from 8 p.m. on Friday, members will be meeting via Zoom. Lowestoft District and Pye Amateur Radio Club has a net on Sundays. That's on 433.575 MHz from 8 p.m. On Tuesdays, the net is on 145.475 MHz from 8 p.m. and the club meets on Thursday evenings from 7:30 p.m. The final net of the week is on Friday, and that's on 51.490 MHz from 8 p.m. The Martello Tower Group has a net night every Monday evening at 8 p.m. via Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Lima. Then on Sundays, the group has a net via Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Echo, and that's from 8 p.m. Medway Amateur Receiving and Transmitting Society has nets each weekday from 9:30 a.m. on 144.650 MHz. On Friday, Mid Sussex Amateur Radio Society will have a show and tell evening, and the event will be held at the Millfield Suite, Cypress Hall, and the postcode is Romeo Hotel 158 Delta X-Ray from 7:30 p.m. with refreshments available. Norfolk Amateur Radio Club has a net via Golf Bravo 3 November Bravo every Monday from 7:30 p.m. and that's followed by a Morse code net on 3.543 MHz at 8:30 p.m. On Thursday the 23rd of May at 8 p.m, Reading and District Amateur Radio Club will welcome Dr. David Hooper from Rutherford Appleton Laboratories for a talk entitled Earth, Wind and Fire, the Influence of Landscape on the Atmosphere. On Thursday, Shefford and District Amateur Radio Society will run Morse code training from 8 p.m. The club has 2 club nets each week. The first is on Mondays at 7 p.m. on 1985 kHz, and the second is on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. through Golf Bravo 3 Papa India. Now they have something well worth adding to your diary. On Thursday, the 30th of May, the club will welcome Steve, Golf 4 Hotel Papa Echo, who's well known for his Work to All Britain activities and his hard work as GB2RS News Broadcast Coordinator. As an ex-BBC sound engineer, he'll visit the club on the 30th of May to give an entertaining talk on his experiences with the BBC over the years. Everyone's welcome to attend, and by the way, there's a great fish and chip shop next door and a kebab shop opposite, and they'll have more details on Steve's talk in next week's news. For more information about the Society and get details of how to find the club for Steve's talk on the 30th of May, visit their website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk. On Wednesday, Southdown Amateur Radio Society will have a cafe meeting at 12:15 p.m. and this will be followed by a net via the Golf Bravo 3 Zulu X-ray repeater from 2 p.m. Stevenage District Amateur Radio Society meets every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. at the Stevenage Resource Centre on Chells Way, Stevenage, postcode Sierra Golf 20 Lima Tango. Free tea, coffee and biscuits are provided for everyone attending. A club net usually organised each Tuesday evening from 8 p.m. on 145.450 MHz, and another net is held on Thursday evenings on the 80-metre band close to 3.727 MHz using the club call sign Golf 3 Sierra Alpha Delta. And you can find more information on the club's website at Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.com. On Sundays, Surrey Radio Contact Club has a net on 1.905 MHz at 9:30 a.m. Monday sees a net on 3.710 MHz lower sideband from 9 a.m. Then on Tuesday there's a net on 51.550 MHz from 8 p.m. Wednesday sees a net on 28.078 MHz JS8, that's from 10 a.m. And on Thursday, the net is on 70.300 MHz from 8 p.m. Friday sees a D-Star net on 144.6125 MHz from 7:30 p.m. and an FM net on 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. On Monday, West Kent Amateur Radio Society has a net on 145.375 MHz from 8 p.m. and the net moves to 28.730 MHz from 11 a.m. on Saturday. And that ends this week's GB2RS news broadcast. It was brought to you by Graham Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire. The news was compiled by the Radio Society of Great Britain, who represent amateur radio and radio amateurs within the United Kingdom and internationally. If you have a news item to share, please email it to us as far in advance as possible for inclusion in the GB2RS news broadcast, Radcom magazine and the RSGB website. Send it by email, please, to the editorial team, whose email address is radcom@rsgb.org.uk. The RSGB will retain the copyright over the material transmitted. You can find information about amateur radio on our website, which is rsgb.org. And you can also download the full schedule of GB2RS broadcasts from rsgb.org/GB2RS schedule. GB2RS isn't licensed for two-way traffic, but I will be pleased to take your calls and any reports or questions using my call sign Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta. So we wish you 7-3 from the GB2RS news team and hope that you have a lovely Sunday and a great week ahead. This is Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta, now listening for any calls.